Indiana is Darren DeVries era 98 to 51, a win over Alabama A&M in the first game that counts. Ian Plaskoff, Noah Gerkey with you here on the House of Hoosier podcast presented by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. Noah, we are about 2 hours removed from the final buzzer at Assembly Hall. Enjoyed some post-game content on the court, got that out for everybody listening. And now it's time to talk real hoops. And there's a lot to break down. It's all fresh in our heads with the game just happening tonight.
That electric atmosphere, I guess we can start there. The student section showed out tonight. There were only 3 rows of empty seats left in the student section in a game against a lesser opponent. You don't necessarily expect that, especially with the way Indiana teams have historically performed against non-conference teams throughout the recent years. But the energy was there from the start, and I mean, it obviously made a big impact.
The thing that I think a lot of people are focusing on from this game, and something that I'm part of that group on, is that this team just looked completely different, felt completely different than the Mike Woodson teams offensively. And just the visual of just around the arc and everything in the paint. It's modern basketball. It works. It's efficient. Indiana shot 62%, 42% from three, and 100% from the free throw line on 16 attempts. It's modern basketball and it works. And it's not like they were working terribly hard to get these shots. They just have talented scorers on this team as well.
Yeah, and Coach DeVries talked about in his press conference how when you make threes, you can stretch the defense and it allows you to get buckets at the rim. I don't think they attempted a shot further than 8 feet outside of like the paint area. If it wasn't a three-point shot, it was within 8 feet of the rim. And you saw early success. Shot fakes worked very well. Tucker DeVries, his shot fake seemingly worked every time he even attempted a shot. And then you drive that help defender. There was a possession in the second half where Wilkerson takes a shot fake and they work it all the way back around the horn to him, passing up a good shot for a wide open look. He didn't knock it down, one of the few shots he didn't make tonight, but just sort of that ball movement and trying to look out for the next guy next to you, passing up a good shot for a great shot. You saw it throughout the night. Indiana, time after time, whether it was a slip off the high post where the big would just dump it down to a cutting guard going off a give and go or a 4 point play off of a give and go as well. They were looking to get each other involved rather than playing me ball.
We'll do a quick stat breakdown here. First, individually, Reed Bailey led all scorers, 21 points on 7 of 9 shooting, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, also had 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Lamar Wilkerson, 19 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 4 of 10 from 3, started red hot, cooled off late, added 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Tucker DeVries, 18 points, 7 of 13, 4 of 8 from 3, passed the 2,000 point mark for his career. Congratulations to Tucker. And 11 rebounds, 4 assists as well. Really well-rounded performance. Sam Alexis, a quiet 17 points on 6 of 7 shooting, 4 of 4 from the line, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. And then the other double-figure scorer, Tayton Connerway, came up late in more in the second half performance, 6 of 7 from the field as well, added 5 assists. And then other scores, Josiah Miles with 5 and that mean poster in the second half. And then Ian Stevens added 2 free throws late, and that's it. Tight rotation. If you take out the walk-ons, let's see, Indiana played 8 in the rotation. Yeah, tight
Yeah,
rotation. Nick
eight
Dorn
guys.
did not play, although he warmed up and went through the process before the game. Team stats, these are impressive. Slash line of 62, 42, 100. Out rebounded Alabama A&M 42 to 19. Turned the ball over 11 times, but forced 11 turnovers, and really a complete performance for Indiana.
There's not really many places you can look at the stat sheet and feel disappointed or that things were left off the table. Seemingly everybody made an impact, and it was in a different way as well. You talked about Josiah Miles' poster. I mean, the place was already going nuts based on all the highlights we saw. It felt like there were 3 consecutive possessions where it was dunk, dunk, steal, dunk. Like that's just energy builder. I can't remember the last time Indiana dunked more than twice in a game last year by 2 different players not named Umar Ballo. I don't remember. It's energetic, it's fun, it's exciting. And then you can turn around the other end and shoot a three from 32 feet out like Lamar Wilkerson did in the first half. It was an exciting brand of basketball, and it's even outside the numbers. You have Reed Bailey with 21 and four other guys in double figures, over 14 points on pretty consistent shooting. If you're just looking from a pure stat perspective, you obviously can tell Indiana won this game by 47 points like they did, just because it was a collective effort. There were moments for each player, it seemed like, in this game. Lamar Wilkerson had that early spurt in the first half where he was on fire. Sam Alexis, his first like 8 to 10 minutes in the game, dunk, block, bucket inside, ended up stretching a three down in the near side corner as well. Each guy kind of had their own stretch of good plays in basketball where everyone is trying to get them the ball. Who's got the hot hand? We've got a lot of ways we can hurt you.
I'm going to have you rank three different moments from this game. The three choices are one, the Lamar Wilkerson individual run in the first half, where he had the and one three and then followed it up with like a 27 footer. The second option is the back-to-back dunks from Reed Bailey, with the second one being off the backboard lob from Tatum Connerway. And then the third one is that Josiah Miles poster. Rank those three.
Off of my personal, how
Pure
I viewed
vibes.
them, pure vibes. Pure vibes, Josiah Miles' poster tore the roof off the place, seemingly at the time. I mean, that was a mean jam, a grown man jam, if I do say so, from Iron Eagle, one of the goats. It was awesome. And the energy just through the building. Lamar Wilkerson's run also very impressive because we haven't seen that type of streaky shooting necessarily in games for Indiana. And then you get fouled in a 4 point play, the place is going nuts. And one of the next two trips down the floor, you shoot a ball from, I don't know, Kirkwood Avenue on the Assembly Hall, and the place getting nuts as well. Reed Bailey's dunks were awesome. They were. And the off the glass one is pretty sweet. I've got Josiah Miles poster number one. I got Lamar's self run, and then the back to back dunks from Reed Bailey at number three.
I think I'm going to go in the opposite order. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought the transition, like it, dunk steal backboard lob, it's hard to get better than that, especially with a crowd that hasn't really seen that kind of energy in a while. Like Josiah Miles' poster was great. Um, but I feel like the Lamar Wilkerson 3-point run in the first half and the Reed Bailey dunks early in the second half, I felt like that's really what propelled Indiana on those runs that allowed them to break away. Now, don't get me wrong, these are all top tier plays, but I think I'm going to go with the Reed Bailey back-to-back dunks, Lamar Wilkerson 3-point run, and then the Josiah Miles poster. Leave your ranks in the comments. This is a win-win-win situation with these three plays, but I thought I'd pose that question.
Yeah, there's no wrong answers there. I mean, all three were three of the loudest moments we've seen for an Indiana non-conference basketball game. Heck, even conference game at Assembly Hall in the past few years. The crowd was into it from the get-go, and you can see they kind of enjoyed or maybe felt a weight off of their shoulders of not playing a slow, dragging it out brand of basketball, but rather getting up and down the floor, which didn't really look like if you just looked at the stat sheet. They only had five transition points early on in their first 20 something points, but just the fast pace, getting up and down the floor, shooting a lot of threes. And then by the time the second half came around, it was a party on the rim. Guys were hanging on the rim left and right, seemingly, with dunk after dunk and steals and transition. I mean, it was an infectious energy on the floor.
Indiana had 67 possessions, 42 scores. 13 of those 42 scores were dunks, 11 of them were layups, and 10 of them were three-pointers. So that is quick math here. 10 plus 11 plus 13 seems to be 34.
Yes.
34 of 42 scores on possessions were dunks, layups, or three-pointers. Not bad.
In the words of Kurt Signetti, not bad at all. And one of the things that goes underlined too is they were perfect from the free throw line. They were almost perfect against Baylor in that exhibition. They're perfect again here. Reed Bailey was 7 of 7, I believe, seemingly in the first 10 minutes or so in the contest. Those are things that win you games in conference play. And even in tough non-conference games, making free throws when they matter. Of course, everybody will highlight the ones down the stretch. making two free throws in the first 3 minutes of the contest is huge for your team. And Indiana basketball hasn't seen consecutive free throws going in a row in a long time. And so you talk about how they can score layups, dunks, threes. They were able to capitalize on every opportunity at the line, and that should not go unnoticed.
If you combine the Baylor exhibition and this game together, Indiana is 36 of 37 from the free throw line. The um the post-game stat read from Jeremy Gray is always a fun listen. But he went first stat was obviously a win. Indiana picks up a win. That was the first stat. The second stat that Jeremy Gray read off was that Indiana was 16 of 16 from the free throw line. And I think fans cheered louder for the free throw stat than the Indiana win stat.
It just, of recent, it seems like that's been hard to come by. Like they've found ways to win, but you sit at the line every time they go to the line, it's, oh, we missed the front end of a 1-and-1 again, or oh, we missed a pair of two shots with a chance to cut the lead down. And seemingly that hasn't been an issue thus far through at least the most recent two games, and now the whole three exhibitions. And now in one of one games that count, they're shooting 100% from the free throw line. So I can see why fans are excited about that because we're not used to seeing it. We're in unprecedented territory when it comes to free throw shooting. And it sounds, if you're not an Indiana basketball fan, you're like, oh, these guys are crazy for cheering about knocking down free throws. They're called free for a reason. But we are not used to seeing this. This is big time for Indiana.
On the free throw topic, I need to talk about this because I've been lobbying for this for a long time. The Fatheads are back, and I am very happy about it. They needed to come back. Indiana basketball needs to be fun. It needs to engage the students. And it was quite the collection of personalities on the Fatheads behind the basket, and it worked. The first two free throws that Alabama A&M took were both misses with the Fatheads there, and then everybody got free fries, and then it was over from there. The crowd was in it the rest of the way in the second half, but much needed.
Do you have a
Bring the
favorite?
fun back.
Do you have a favorite fathead that they were holding up? Give me a
Ooh,
top two. Top two. You can have two.
hmm. I think the Shrek one was good. That was a fun one. Um, and then there was a like Dwayne the Rock Johnson with a funny facial expression that was good. Signetti was all right. Not the 6'7" one that felt out of place. Not Barney the dinosaur. Um, the Daniel Jones one was okay. I know I'm listing more than two. Yeah, I'll go Shrek and Dwayne the Rock Johnson with a funny facial expression.
See, I liked The Rock as well. Halliburton was cool because he's always got that big smile on his face, and the guy that was holding him was trying to spin his head around. Kind of funny. I kind of liked it, and I love The Rock, so I'm also taking The Rock because who doesn't love Dwayne The Rock Johnson? And also, a bunch of Indiana legends. We had Victor Oladipo, Cody Zeller, Eric Gordon, like things that felt home to Indiana as well, rather than just things to make other guys miss free throws. So that was a nice touch. The only thing they missed on Daniel Jones was the Indiana Jones cowboy hat. It was the only thing
Yeah,
that would have been a nice
yeah.
touch.
Um, the another thing on Cody Zeller. Before the game, he was like, well, a lot of you guys may not know about this Indiana basketball team, so here's my analysis, and then posted on Twitter like a player bio for every player on the roster. And I think as minimal as it sounds, having the program connected to its alums and them being active in that sense and trying to engage the fan base together is it's a cool thing to see.
Yeah, Nick Rodecap and I were looking at it before the game, and he's giving like scouting reports on these guys so people know who they're looking at. And the guys in the comments replying to Cody are like, thanks, because we didn't know. Like, thanks for helping us understand who's on our team. And of course, his scouting report is spot on. Cody Zeller, IU basketball legend, knows basketball, obviously better than the whole, way more than you and I know. And his scouting report was absolutely spot on. The first thing he said about Lamar Wilkerson, shooter. He's going to look to shoot the three. Tucker DeVries, great basketball IQ, knockdown three-point shooter, calming presence. I didn't see any of that was wrong today. Connorway's going to run the show, plays with confidence, handles well in the pick and roll. Spot on. Cody Zeller, thank you for engaging the Indiana basketball fans, giving us a scouting report of the players. I mean, it's awesome to see the alumni engaged, especially with all the coaching turnovers we've had over the last few years. Seeing those Indiana basketball greats and even the Indiana basketball alums who love Indiana University staying engaged in the program is a nice sight to see.
Let's talk Connerway for a bit. I feel like he's kind of got under the radar, but in the second half of the Baylor game, he hit the game winner. He was all over the place in the second half. This game, he led the team in plus minus at a plus 46 with 14 points, 5 assists, four of those coming in the second half. Um, and Connerway often gets overshadowed with the guards, being Lamar Wilkerson and also Tucker DeVries at the forward spot. But he is an extremely valuable piece to this team, both offensively and defensively.
More importantly, on the defensive end, because there were times tonight where there was a miscommunication. It's been a long night, okay?
No, I
We
know. We are at
had the
12:10
game
a.m. on Wednesday,
12:10 a.m.
Thursday
recapping
morning.
IU basketball. Miscommunications on defensive end, getting blown by on drives. And there was one consistent, maybe two consistent pieces on defense. And it was Tatum Conaway locking up whoever had the ball and Sam Alexis being there to block a shot if somehow somebody got around Tatum Conaway. Those are the two things that were there all night. And he's that calming presence on offense that he doesn't have to go score a whole bunch of points. He ends up with 14. I can remember three of his baskets. Like, I can't remember him scoring 14 points. And you look in the box score, he got a plus minus of 46, and he shot 6 or 7 from the field.
Yeah, another quiet performance was Sam Alexis. I looked at the box score at the end of the game, and I saw 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. Now, I remember yeah, both. I remember both of those blocks pretty vividly. They were pretty authoritative. But that 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists just went right under the radar for me. But I mean, you talked about this at the game in that Sam Alexis is the X factor of this team. Alabama A&M is obviously not great competition and doesn't have the bigs that Indiana will see in the Big Ten. But seeing Alexis be able to stretch the floor, run the floor, play in this fast-paced offense, it was a good sign to see.
He seemed to be comfortable playing as the only big on the floor as well, because they didn't really play much of him and Bailey together, and he seemed to be okay with that. He seemed to be comfortable. And in the first 6 minutes he was in the game, he had 7 points and 3 rebounds, including an alley-oop dunk. His motor is so high. He plays so very much hard. He goes after every single rebound. He's aggressive on the defensive end. He's a high IQ player on offense. He doesn't have to shoot every time he touches the ball. He's willing to find the extra pass, and he can stretch the floor. He knocked down a three as well tonight. He looked really good. He's the biggest X factor because you don't know the size they're going to run into this year. They're kind of, not kind of, they are thin on the back line depth wise at that forward and center position. So he's the biggest X factor. And you look and he had 17 points, and it sure felt like it. His plus minus was up there too. I mean, he played very, very well tonight.
Looking into the depth of this team, we saw Nick Dorn was warming up. He was going through the process. I don't think he was ever going to play in the game today, but he was there. Trent Sisley, 2 points, 1 of 4. The 2 points came on a putback. He had 3 rebounds. He was a plus 15, which was the lowest among players that played significant minutes today. It just feels like he needs a little bit more time to get comfortable, but also you got to think for Trent Sisley, this is the day that he's been dreaming of since he was a little kid of playing for Indiana in a game that matters. So give him a little grace. But if Indiana wants to extend the bench a little bit, Sisley's going to have to step it up a little bit gradually over the course of time.
Yeah, in the press conference, Coach DeVries talked about how his guys were maybe too excited. And I think that was maybe one of those things with Trent Sisley. Kind of got in his own head, it looked like a little bit at times. He wasn't as assertive or as confident on offense as we saw him in that Marion game where he exploded offensively. You're right. It's the first game that matters at Assembly Hall and a pretty big crowd at that, too. I don't know if he was anticipating having it almost at max capacity student wise and a lot of the general public there as well. He's going to be a very important piece off the bench because if they remain thin and they're still without some of these guys, they're going to need a guy off the bench that can score, that can defend, and that can hold his own overall on the floor against these good non-conference teams are coming into conference play as well. I think you're right. He just needs more time. He's still a freshman. People like he's a highly touted prospect. He's still a freshman. Give him some time. He's going to mold into the player that people think he is. It's his first game. There's always first game nerves, that nervous excitement, and I think it maybe got to him a little bit tonight, which you kind of expect from a freshman.
Other guys that did not play, Jason Drake's still in a boot on a scooter, so that's expected to be long term. Alexa Ristich was not warming up. He was still in the tracksuit, if you want to call it that, during pregame warmups. Achimovic did warm up, did not play. Um, and then the rest of the walk-ons, Ian Stevens got 2 points. The pride of New Palestine. Yeah, I it was this was cool. Ian Stevens' dad, I believe, or somebody that was related to him, was standing in front of us on one of the landings below Section K, and Ian Stevens got to the free throw line. He was all stressed out. He was pacing back and forth, and Stevens knocked down those two free throws, and just the pure joy. It was so cool.
That's what you love about college basketball. It's like earlier in the exhibition where we had the group of college guys chanting "We want Snively." Like it's what makes college basketball fun. It's what makes it an enjoyable atmosphere, and there's no better place to do it than an assembly hall. There's some stress as a parent too, I'm sure, watching your kid play on the floor of assembly hall in a game that matters.
Yeah, and the walk-ons were Snively put up two shots. He was 0 of 2. Trice Grensing missed a three, and you could see that the Indiana bench just wanted those guys to succeed so much because you never know, when those guys are going to get the chance again. I think back to I think it was yesterday. Well, now 2 days ago. It's Thursday morning. The Florida Gulf Coast, Brandon Dwyer, the road to 1 point as
The
a
road to one
walk-on. He
point, big
completed that.
TikTok star.
So I always love watching walk-ons play. Sean Burke was my guy last year for Indiana, and James Goodis as well, who actually is on Baylor's roster now. I saw him at Gainbridge. So if any of you listening are keeping up with James Goodis and former Indiana walk-ons, watch the Baylor Bears. But at any rate, a complete performance from Indiana. The stats just wow you from start to finish. The more you look, the more ridiculous it gets from how efficient and how flashy this team was. Um, I don't know. The biggest thing from this game is not the score, it's not the stats, it's not even how the team played on the court. It was the level of hope and joy and the anticipation from the fans in attendance about like, hey, this might actually be worth something to go to basketball games again and enjoy it and look forward to this team being successful.
See, that's why I was surprised the student section showed out as big as they did without seeing like the game first. If there wasn't a big crowd night and you see Indiana play like this, you want to go show up. There was a lot of unknowns. There were a lot of question marks about this team coming in. We knew they were going to shoot a whole bunch of threes. Everybody heard this, yada, yada, yada. New coach, new modern style, but nobody actually knew what was going to happen until they stepped onto the floor. And they absolutely proved it tonight. I'm assuming we're going to see big crowds the entire year if this is how exciting this team is going to be. It was seemingly highlight play after highlight play after highlight play every time down the floor. And that's exciting as a student, as a fan who takes time out of their day to go watch Indiana basketball play. You want to see those exciting moments, and they really weren't many over the last few years. And even if there were, it's like one or two, and your team scoring 64 points. Indiana scored 98 points. This is the biggest margin for a new head coach's first win in IU history as well.
This is going to bring us to our quick mailbag segment. I know it's late at night or early in the morning, however you want to put it, but we do have something to go over here. From at JLawPicks on Twitter X, rank this team right now. Thoughts?
This is back when we got the one about Indiana being the first team to win both the national championship in football and basketball, which, by the way, Florida already did in 2004. But I said, hold on, wait a minute, pump the brakes just a little bit. They beat Alabama A&M. No offense to Alabama A&M. They're not a top 25 team. They're not even close to a top 25 team. Indiana will play some of those teams in the non-conference. We'll learn a little bit more, maybe a lot more on Sunday when this team faces Marquette, another team that loves to push the pace, get up and play in transition with a lot more athleticism than Alabama A&M provides. This team, I predicted at the beginning of the year that they were going to be top 15 at some point. I would love to see this team ranked. I'd love to see that prediction come true. Very early on, we're one game in. It was a very exciting start. There's a long season ahead of us.
Here's what I have to say. I don't think that you should rank this team right now, but this team has the traits of a team that can make some noise as the season goes on. It has multiple shooters that are capable and capable at high volume. It has a home crowd that's behind it. It has a style of offense that is wildly efficient, at least at a first glance. And an offense that Darren DeVries said that eliminating the mid-range game was not discussed. It just naturally happened with how this offense flowed. And really, how he described this offense was we work on it in practice. They know what they need to do. They go out on the floor, and Darren DeVries goes and says, I just tell them, let it rip. And it's very evident that that's what they do. They just play ball out there. It's very simple, just lots of slips to the basket, ball movement to get the shooters open. They pass up good shots for great shots, and they're unselfish. And I think that is what can make a team successful down the road and eventually earn a ranking or and a down even more down the road earn a tournament spot is that trait right there. Now you do have to consider lack of depth, lack of size. How is this team going to play against stronger competition in the Big Ten and the strong non-conference slate? But what I have to say right now is I think that this team has the traits to become very good if it keeps up this chemistry and this offensive efficiency.
This is a team that's identity matches up perfectly with the teams in March Madness that normally go make runs. They shoot a lot of threes, they defend, and they push the pace in transition. And yes, they've only played one game, and you worry how they might fare against a more athletic team or a team that has more size than them. And there are going to be nights where their shots are not falling from three. And Coach DeVries said that you got to find other ways to attack and score on offense. But with this style of play and how well they shoot the three, how often they shoot it, there's not one team that's going to line up across from Indiana that Indiana's not going to have a chance at beating. There's not one team in the country right now, at least, or even probably throughout the year if this continues, that you can legitimately say Indiana has very little to no chance of winning that game just because they have the opportunity to explode and take off on offense at any given time.
52 points in the paint for Indiana in this game against Alabama A&M, 26 points off the bench, um, and 10 three-pointers in 24 attempts. So the efficiency's there, the balance is there. The shot chart is really all you need to see to know that this team has the capability to get to the paint, be efficient, and can move the ball. I mean, the film from this game is going to be fascinating, and I'm going to watch it back. Um, I just think it's so unique to have an experience where, I mean, we've saw this with Indiana football, but it's like we're so used to this team being a certain way, and it's been a certain way for so long. And that way was classic, old-fashioned, run through the paint, you know, and not really playing the modern style of basketball. And immediately, here we are, new style, and it's like, huh, yeah, we are. This is what is this is the new Indiana.
Change is fun when it works. And that is another thing as well. People are going to love the modern style because it worked. If they have a bad shooting game and they're not able to get stuff inside, are people going to love the fact that we're shooting 25 threes if we're only making four of them? It's not how it works, okay? So change is great when it works. Indiana football has lost what? Twice now in the span of 2 years, right?
Yep.
Ohio State, Notre Dame. Change is good when it works, right? That Ohio State loss doesn't feel good. The Notre Dame loss doesn't feel good. Basketball is another one of those where you can have a bad shooting night and you can get beat. Every team in the country does. That's why there hasn't been an undefeated team since the 1976 Hoosiers, which they have a patch on the jersey for this year. 50 years of that. It's been a while. There's a reason it doesn't happen. And so the new modern style is fun and it's hard to get used to change, but it's not hard to get used to change when it's working well. And that's what I think a lot of Indiana fans are excited for is the potential of the fact that this thing can continue on throughout the entirety of the season.
I posed the question to you and everybody listening about ranking those top three plays. And I was thinking just now about like those three plays all happen in the same game. If you think back to what Indiana basketball has been, you'd probably have to search for an entire season to get those three plays to come to mind.
Could
And it
you
all
think
happened
of
in one game.
could you think of three top plays from last year that top any of the three we saw tonight? Like Galloway's deep three against Ohio State on
Yeah,
senior day. That's
yeah.
there. I can't name two more off the top of my head, like individual plays
Poster
that I would
wise, there
take.
was nothing. Showtime plays, there was no. Maybe the
We saw,
renewed poster against Washington, but the Josiah Miles poster was much better than that.
yeah, the renew that was on the road too. So like it's obviously it's still important. Like it was cool, but like it's on the road. Like these are three big time plays in front of a crowd that's already behind this team and showing up and being loud and supporting the way that this team plays in one singular game, like you mentioned. You'd have to go back and look. I also posed the question to anybody listening. What were the top three plays of last year? And do they top any of the three outside of Galloway's deep three against Ohio State?
Throw those in the comments or DM us on Twitter, Instagram, tag us wherever you want to put it. We'll break that down in the next episode. And before we sign off here, just a quick look at what's next for Indiana. It is the first road game in a game that counts for the Hoosiers, although technically it's neutral site. I should say a first game away from home that counts for Indiana in this Darren DeVries era. At the United Center in Chicago, 1 p.m. Eastern tip-off against Marquette. Marquette, a team that struggled for a little bit against Southern University uh, in at the same time as Indiana was playing. I keep thinking about should I say yesterday or today or whatever because it's Thursday morning now. Um, just quick thoughts on Marquette, thoughts on what this game could be, and what you might be able to see from Indiana.
Well, they're going to be well coached. Shaka Smart's one of the best coaches that college basketball has, one of the best basketball minds. They run a very similar style of offense. They love to get up and down the court. They like to get quick shots in the first 10, 15 seconds of the shot clock. They scored 100 points tonight against Southern. They did give up 82, which I don't know how much you can take away from that, but they gave up 82 points to a SWAC team. So there's that. They get up and down the floor, but they also get beat defensively a lot. This is a team that's going to play a lot like Indiana, and they're going to be a lot more athletic than Alabama A&M, and they're going to be a team that Indiana is going to see a lot in the Big Ten. They're going to be a team that is bigger, if not the same size as them, and Indiana's going to have to find ways to win the game. I'm not sure how great Marquette is overall. I haven't looked too deep into them. Of course, they've only played two games against Albany and Southern University, so nobody knows. We'll find a lot more about each one of these teams as they go against each other, but based on first glance, they play very similar to Indiana. But we know they're going to be well coached with Shaka Smart, and I'm quite excited to be in attendance and actually get to see how these two teams fare in a neutral site. It should be an awesome atmosphere, by the way.
Yeah, I think, I mean, with the alumni base of Indiana fans in Chicago and the surrounding areas, there's going to be a lot of cream and crimson there. Marquette will also travel well. It's only one state over. I will not be in attendance. I will be in a car on I-70 back from Happy Valley for the Indiana Penn State football game, which has been a bucket list item for me for as long as I can remember, and I'm covering that on the field, making the package, whatever. No big deal at all. But no,
No,
you'll
just
have coverage from the United Center there, and we'll have you covered after the game as well. Leave your thoughts in the comments or on any of our socials for thoughts on this game, predictions, anything from this past game against Alabama A&M. We are more than happy and very excited to see what you all have to think, and we'll respond to your comments as the season goes on. But as we wrap up, Indiana is 1-0, a 98-51 win over Alabama A&M. Noel, final thoughts from the first game of the DeVries era.
This team is fun. This team is exciting. It's a new brand of Indiana basketball. Who knew modern basketball would be enjoyable to watch? It's quite fun. And I'm very excited to see how this team goes. And we're going to learn a lot more about this team in the next coming weeks. And it starts on Sunday against Marquette. And I'm quite excited to see how the team fares the rest of the way.
Fully agreed. I think the personalities on this team are really fun to see, and I can't wait to watch how they develop. Same with how this team grows when they get these players back from injury, and how the rotations develop, how these stellar performances go, these Showtime plays that we saw three of in one game, which could be more than the entire year last year or more. At any rate, Indiana's 1-0, and that's all that matters. We'll have you covered after Marquette. Leave everything that you want to say in our comments, in our DMs on Twitter, Instagram, everything. Socials are on the screen. That wraps up another episode of the House of Hoosier podcast presented by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. For Noah Gerkey, I'm Ian Plaskoff. Big thanks to